All right, everybody. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Isaiah chapter 32, verse 16 to chapter 33, verse 9. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody bow your heads. Father, thank you for getting us together on this Bible study to get into more of Isaiah. Whether it be a prophetic speech or whether it be a lesson to learn, I pray it be a good one. And we'll be getting into today before we get into this new year. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So last time we started with verse 16 of chapter 32 and got all the way. Oh, no, that's today. What am I doing? Last time we started off chapter 32 and got from verse 1 to 15. And as we saw from it, it really was talking about a whole new context. It had nothing to do with 31 or the prophetic speech from there. But there was a high potential for a prophetic speech here, from it talking about the king reigning in righteousness, and we talk about the time frame of when all this takes place. This sounds like a time frame when God is taking over, or when Jesus is in control. But also about the eyes not being dim and the ears being able to hear. And a man is going to be a hiding place from the wind, so a covering for those from storms and refreshing as like the water in a dry place. So as we continued on, we did start to see some of the impacts. Like, for example, it brought up about a liberal, the type of person that wants to give everything away free and have nobody work for anything, and saw about the consequences and how women need to prepare themselves not to be part of that problem. They're going to be going through some real struggles, as what it was discussing. And then it brought up about how it's the wicked devices, and we saw comparisons, not just of the women making sure not to let the ease and comfortability put them into a lifestyle of disarray when time comes and they actually have to work for things or get married. But it brought up about the wicked and the evil and those that are practicing hypocrisy, the vile person, that they're going to devise wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words. Those that are greedy as well, we're going to do that as well. And so we really just went back and forth over the course of the study with possible prophetic words, nothing really confirmed, but pretty dang close. And we read about how, as I'll get into the final part, until the Spirit poured out upon us on high. So, and I'll read 14 and 15 out loud just to get that context. Because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the cities shall be left, the forts and towers shall be dens forever, a joy for wild donkeys, a pasture of flocks, until the Spirit be poured upon us from high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field being counted for a forest. Again, with the possible prophetic language, a wilderness is not a fruitful field. Wilderness is the middle of nowhere. And a fruitful forest has been used many a times in the Bible to represent the growth of population or growth in the spirit, to produce new, in other words, always for the producing of the next. And so we see that as a possible comparison prophetically to Jesus in the New Testament on one side, where it literally talked about in Acts chapter 2 when they started speaking in tongues that the Spirit poured out on them. It could be in reference to that, or it could be in reference to the end times, but more likely than the end times is that time of Christ. Now, we'll go ahead and switch it to our first section so our first reader can read. And go ahead, Charles, when you're ready. Don't forget to unmute.
All right. I'm going to read Isaiah chapter 32, verses 16 to 20. Give it a couple seconds. Verse 16. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness quietness and assurance forever. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting places. When it shall hail coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place. Blessed are ye that sow beside all waters, that send forth thither the feet of the ox and the axe and the ass. All right. Give me a second, Matt.
No problem.
So first, with 16, 16, because it starts off with, then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness and righteousness remain in a fruitful field. When it's talking about this, this is after for the verse 15 of the Spirit being poured upon from high in the wilderness and all of that. So because it's a detail after, hmm, let me think. Spirit being poured upon high, wilderness being fruitful, judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, righteousness remain in the wilderness. I really could put it with verse 15.
Yep. This would be
Yeah,
a
I really could.
majority yes and minority no. It has a separation, but it's so much connected to it, you better off considering it connected.
Yeah. I'll probably end up using majority because you use it so much, it'll probably be majority when if I try to get it out.
Oh, yeah.
It was gonna be mostly, or I think mostly was the other option, but no, it's gonna be majority because you say it a lot now. I'm just gonna do majority.
Well, because majority makes more sense logistically. Mostly is so like it doesn't really say like an amount as more as a style. It
Yeah.
mostly connects to me when I hear mostly like I'll give you an example. You're mostly like your father. What are we talking about when we say that? It's so like it's like you behave like him, you look like
Mhm.
him. Like what are we talking about? But if I
Too
say you
broad.
are a,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? But well, it's not that
Hmm.
it's too broad. It's that mostly seems more like a style word rather than a evaluation or numbers game. Majority feels like a numbers game. Like you are a
Yeah.
majority of your father. Oh, when I
Hmm.
say that, now I'm not talking about you seem like, I'm talking about you have a certain amount that lines up with him correctly. I lines up with him directly. I don't know, it just feels like it, and it's just preference, but it feels like it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. It does. It does. When you just used it just now, I was like, you know what? Yeah, it'll be majority. We're sticking with majority. I'm
What
not
about
using
what I
mostly.
said made you say that?
Well, with majority, so the thing with mostly versus majority, it's not just that. It's if I use mostly and you use majority, because I got so many thoughts going on through my head, it's gonna eventually throw me off. I don't know if it's gonna eventually throw you off. I can guarantee it's gonna throw me off.
Mhm.
Because if you use majority, but I use mostly, now I'm like, okay, how did he use it in? Now I'm like, now I
Oh, so
lost
that
focus.
okay,
I
because
lost focus
yeah,
on
okay.
the verses. I lost focus on what I read. I lost focus on the topic because now I'm trying to figure out. Wait, I use mostly. You use majority. Just off that alone,
Okay.
because I
All
got
right,
too
we'll
much
we'll
going
stick with
on.
majority then.
That's what I'm. That's what I'm saying. We're sticking
So
with
it's not about
majority.
what I said, it's about the fact that I'm going to keep using majority. Because you said
No,
it was
no. It
somewhat of what part of what I said made you feel like that? That's what I was curious.
When you brought up mostly versus majority, like when you brought up the example, you're mostly like your father, and you brought up how you're not thinking of it from like a numbers perspective. Well, I'm thinking the same thing too. If somebody told me, Charlie, you're mostly like your father, you're not thinking about it from a, you're just, you could come up with any ways of how you could think about it, but you're not
Hmm.
thinking about it from like a 75% like your dad, 85% like your dad. That's not coming out when you use mostly. But
Yeah,
if you use
yeah.
majority, then I could kind of like, am I 75%, 85%? If I really want to get that
Yeah, it
technical,
just
now
it
I'm
has
thinking
more of a
about it.
connotation of numbers than mostly does.
That's what I was thinking about when you use that example.
Hmm.
But that was the first thing. The second thing was the more important thing. If I use one word, you use one word, I'll lose complete. Now I forgot what we're talking about because I'm trying to figure out how, like, okay, you're using
Yeah.
majority, but you're using it in the numbers thing, but I just used mostly. Did I explain this wrong? Now I'm like, oh, okay, I must have explained this wrong because you use majority, I use mostly. It
Okay.
it throws everything off.
Okay. So we'll say
For me,
majority
for
then.
me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for me personally, it'll throw everything off
Yeah.
for me.
So okay, so then we'll do that from now on. Then your notes,
Yeah,
scratch out mostly and put majority.
it'll be majority.
The other reason why, and I'm thinking about is like when I use mostly, it feels more like a comparison of a back and forth rather than evaluating numbers as well. It's like if I say you're mostly like your father, I'm comparing you to your mother. But if I'm saying you are a majority your father, it's only about like how much of your like your father you are.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's the other thing about it. It's like when I think of the verses, like the judgment shall dwell in the wilderness and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. Well, if I use mostly, when I think about that, I'm thinking of it in along the lines of that they're almost saying the same thing. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're
Like it's
saying.
it's it's a similarity comparison. Like you're that's mostly the same context. I'm thinking like, oh, these two verses are saying the same exact thing. But if I say majority connected rather than mostly connected, now when I say majority, I'm thinking, oh, there are individual details that are a lot of the individual details. It makes it a multitude comparison rather than a comparison of one and two. Does that make sense?
The first thing we talked about made more sense than this one did.
Oh, okay.
But the
It,
first
it's
one
just the
made
way I
more
see the
sense than
word.
this.
It's just the way I
Yeah.
see the word mostly. Even when I say it, like you're mostly. Okay, here's a good example. I'm mostly a nice person versus I'm majority a nice person. Now it's not, when I say mostly, I'm talking about my character as a whole, but when I say majority, I'm talking about all my individual circumstances that have happened in my life as like a numbers game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One is comparing one and two back and forth, and the other it's a multitude numbers thing.
Hmm.
So, all right. So yeah, we'll use majority then.
Majority's it. Yep. So yeah, I got 16 majority with 15 with that previous one. More of a majority connected to 15.
Hmm.
But I got 15 and 16 as a section.
Yes.
15, 16. I'm sorry. 16 and 17 is what I meant to say.
Oh. Oh, okay. Okay.
16 and 17 the section. 15 was last study. 16 and 17 is the section.
Okay. So 15 to 17 you could say. But
Yeah, 15 and 17 is the section.
yes.
That's funny. Yeah, see,
Exactly.
that's what happened. There it is. And I got 18, 19 as the second section. Then I got 20 as the third.
Hmm?
Did you hear? Did you hear me? 18 and
Yeah.
19 as the second section, 20 as the third.
Yeah. I'm just
Okay.
re-looking at it to be sure.
Oh, I thought I heard like a like a huh, like a. I thought that's what that was. My bad.
No, you're not wrong. I just wanted to be sure. I did make
Okay.
that noise like that. I was like, hmm. But I
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to re-look at it because I wasn't. It's like I said before. I'm not going to correct you or call you out on something unless I'm sure that you're wrong.
You got it.
And when I look at this, I'm like, and when it shall hail coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place. What does that have to do with, and my people shall dwell in a peaceable place?
So let me reread. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in a sure dwelling, and in sure dwellings, and in the quiet place, and in quiet resting places. Semicolon. When it shall hail, coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in the low place. So I was taking with that semicolon. I'm taking that as the people are
No, no, I'm
do.
not saying you're wrong. I'm just looking at it. I want to be sure about this. I'm like, because I'm thinking
Also,
it's
the way
20,
I
is
was
you're not
the way
wrong.
I was gonna say the way I was looking at it is the people being in a peaceful habitation when the hail comes to the forest. That's what I thought it was. Because to me, it doesn't sound like the only reason is that semicolon. If I didn't see that semicolon, I would have separated them.
No, I think 20 is going to have a possibility, a strong possibility of being connected to 18 and 19, honestly.
Oh, because
Think,
of them dwelling safe, and then having it saying, "Blessed are those
yeah,
that sow beside the waters," and you got your oxen out doing whatever they doing, sending them out doing what they do.
exactly. And what happens if you sow beside the water? Well, your seed is going to have all the nutrients it needs.
Hmm.
And then sending forth ox thither, the feet of the ox and the ass, well, they're able to trample the ground, flatten it out, make sure the ground is good.
Hmm.
So we're talking about preparedness, and we're talking about a peaceable habitation. So those are connected in the grand scheme of life. So I'll say you're right for now, but if we get more information connecting to 20 that connects 18 to 19, it could turn out wrong. But we don't have enough to confirm it yet. So we'll say you're right for now. 16 and 17, then 18 and 19, then 20.
Couldn't we leave it out as like the possibility, or we just need more
Yeah,
context to? Yeah, we just need more context to confirm
because
if
it's
it
up in
was.
the air right now if it's actually connected or not. And actually, I
Hmm.
would say if unless we do get something that connects it, this is not connected. So you are right. It's just there's a possibility you could be wrong,
Hmm.
depending on what the next verses say.
Hopefully, I
You see what I'm
remember.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully, with the next verses, hopefully the next verses gets us that answer. Because if
I'll
not,
remind it if it does.
yeah.
All right, now go ahead with your explanation.
So the first part, 16. So first I need to bring up after the spirits pour down from high, from verse 15. So after all of that, then we get into 16 about judgment shall dwell in the wilderness and the righteousness remain in the fruitful field. And when we're talking about judgment in the wilderness, the right judgment, God's judgment, judging the right way as you're supposed to. Righteousness remaining in the fruitful field. Well, again, God's righteousness being in this fruitful field, this abundant field. Let me go to verse
Abundance not
17.
the right word.
Abundance, not the.
Fruitful doesn't necessarily mean there's currently fruit. Fruitful can also be connected to potential. This field is a fruitful field. It can produce a lot of fruit. You see what I'm saying?
So, like a potentially good field.
No, no, I'm saying it can. The reason I said bountiful is not right is because when we read fruitful field, that's not necessarily talking about that it has all this abundancy in it. Because when you think of abundance, what do you think of?
Abundance,
It
I think of
currently
just so
has it,
much.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not future tense, it's not potentially, it already has it.
Hmm.
But fruit fulfilled, more often than not, is it more representative of it currently being full of fruit, or is it more representative of the potential to have fruit?
More
As
so the
much as we've
potential.
read.
As much as
You
we
see what I'm
read,
saying?
as much as you read the potential. So okay. So abundant, yeah, especially because abundant means like I'm thinking of the right now. I'm not thinking of the future.
Exactly.
Um, what would be a good word I can use for like, or not a good word, but like what would be a good phrase to use for like the future?
When I think of a fruitful field, because think about it. Remember, the wilderness is the middle of nowhere, right?
Mhm.
And it said in the, what did it say in 15?
Till the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field. Be a fruitful field. So that's yeah, that's still future. And the fruitful field be counted for a force.
Exactly. So the wilderness will be a fruitful field. So the wilderness is going to have the potential to grow and create all this fruit and produce and everything. All right.
Mhm.
And then it said that the fruitful field will be counted as a forest, so it's going to be massive.
Mhm.
Then we have in 16 where it says the judgment shall dwell in the wilderness. Well, we just read about the wilderness, right? That this
Mhm.
wilderness is going to be made into a fruitful field. So the middle of nowhere is going to be able to produce. The judgment is going to be in the place in the middle of nowhere, and righteousness will remain in the fruitful field. Well, if we look at that literally, does that make sense at all?
No,
So we have to look at that metaphorically. Well, what does righteousness pertain to? Righteousness always pertains to people and God. It never pertains to physical things like a fruitful field. It's completely irrelevant. And as much as we've read the Bible, have we seen righteousness relate to anything besides a nation as a whole or the people individually?
no, not that I could think of. It's always pertain to people.
And we've read the entire chronological Bible now, right? So if we haven't read it now, it don't exist unless it's going to pop up in one of these prophet books. But it was nowhere in the entirety of the chronological Bible of the Old Testament. So then we have to be talking about people and their behavior, or the land and the behavior of everything in the land. So the judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, the middle of nowhere. And we just read about the wilderness is going to be a fruitful field, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. So judgment, righteous judgment. What happens if you have righteous judgment? What's the end outcome of that? Righteousness takes place.
Right.
And then righteousness is going to remain in the fulfilled. This sounds more like steps than it does separate details. Does that make sense?
When you say it sounds more like steps, it makes me think of what I brought up on the first explanation from verses 1 to 5, when God takes over per se.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like if we're talking about God reigning in this area, which is looking more likely, we're talking about that time frame. The judgment dwelling in the middle of nowhere. So judgment's there, even in the middle of nowhere, but it's producing a fruitful field, as we read in 15, and righteousness is remaining in the fruitful field. So the areas where they're able to produce, righteousness is staying there. They're staying righteous. Sounds like groups of people, if not individuals, who are able to, when starting with sound judgment taking place, then righteousness is going, and they're able to produce more fruit, meaning more people are coming, more people are following, but because the judgment is staying in the wilderness and because their righteousness is remaining there, it's staying as a potentially good, fruitful field. A good example of this would be when the Lord sees fit for our church to grow, as in more people. We're in the middle of nowhere, but judgment is taking place. We are standing firm on God's judgment. And that wilderness that we're in our lives and everybody around, it's pretty much a wilderness metaphorically. We're still having righteousness remain. All the people that left this fruitful field, what's the difference between us and them? We're having sound judgment and we're deciding to remain righteous to the best of our abilities.
Right.
It sounds like a biblical church that follows God according to his word and context. Potentially.
You know, it's funny. It's funny that you bring that up because then in verse 17, and the work of righteousness shall be peace. See how peaceful it is when and unfortunately, I have to bring this up. See how peaceful it is when it's me and you not arguing about conspiracy theories?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it. I don't get certain things. Then yeah, I get that part. But we don't argue about certain things. We don't bring up certain topics that prevent us from even having the Bible study in the first place.
We
And the
don't
effect.
argue, period, about it
No, but
unless it's for
I'm just
fun, like
no,
a debate.
I'm saying that because of the point you just made.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
makes
no,
me
no,
think
I'm
about the
agreeing with
point you just
you.
made with with the church and everything. It makes me think
Yeah,
about that with verse 17 and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever.
yeah. Think about
It
how the way
literally
you and me get along. And what do you and I have in common that nobody else in the church had in common?
a lot of people would not accept, even though they claim it, they would not accept correction
Yeah,
like they say they would. Yeah.
yeah. They say they want to accept it, but no. Like I literally I don't know, I'm not gonna bring up a side note today. Something happened today where I asked for what I asked you to help with and checking the video that we'll do afterwards. What I asked you to help with to check on that, I asked the same thing of somebody else we know. And I asked him when he's done driving, can he check it real quick? Never got back to me at all. I even sent a text message later on. I was like, did you ever get a chance to get back to it? No response. And even when I hear him on the phone, it's always this subtle, I don't want to talk to this person attitude. And I'm like, you were the one in the wrong. It's okay to discuss conspiracy theories, but we need to stick to the facts. And you don't twist people's word and lie about what they're doing or keep pushing a provably false lie that got debunked in your face with a witness to back up if it showed it was debunked. So, yeah, and it's not just him. It's everybody. What is the reason Chris left? He didn't want to do what was necessary to be on Bible study. Cool. What's the reason that what's her name? Oh, I forget her name, but she was over when we did the get together when Thomas wasn't here. The first time where everybody from the church came together. She was over. Why'd she leave? She didn't want to put God first in the Bible studies. She thought going to college for it was enough. Your college ain't even teaching you biblically sound doctrine. How could the college be more important than the Bible study? And to top it off, you're not even going to college during the Bible study. You're not working during the Bible study. You work at home. So it's for everybody. The one difference between you and me versus everybody else is we actually follow God's word to the best of our ability. You had that moment with the money, but like I said, I don't think we have to worry about that ever again. But outside of that, everything that we do is does it line up with his word? If something needs to be corrected, We accept the correction. We don't make excuses or say, well, it's how you're talking to me. Jesus called the Pharisees sons of snakes. That's literally calling somebody a female dog in today's standard. And so I'm like, sons of Satan, sons of snakes. Like, and you're worried about the harshness of my correction? I didn't even raise my voice or anything at first. Every single one of these is when it was somebody not willing to listen and I had to raise to try to get their attention and it still failed. Or something else happened. They didn't like it. But it's never been because we don't follow the Bible. And now that it's just you and me at the moment, even when I have to correct you, even when like I got frustrated, which that's something I have to work on as a frustration on my side. But even when I got frustrated, what happened in that Bible study? You started to shut down a little bit, but then I was like, come on, don't do that, bro. What are you doing? And then you got back on track. That's just the difference. It's a priority thing. God's either a priority or he's not. And your actions and choices and how you choose to live and what you choose to do will prove that. Same thing with verse 18 and 17. And the work of the righteous shall be peace. And the
16,
effect of
17.
righteous. No, I said 17, 18.
Oh, I haven't even gotten to 18, but go ahead.
No, I'm just explaining for the point. And the
Okay.
work of the righteous shall be peace. We're working towards peace. And the effect of righteousness, quietness, and assurance forever. Well, quietness and assurance doesn't necessarily mean peace. That's a whole separate detail. That means you're not worried about nothing. You're not frustrated or overthinking. You're just going about as God has told you to. Well, when you've prayed about something and God's given you an answer of no, what do?
You don't do it.
You don't do it. If you've prayed about something and the answer was yes to do it, what do?
You do it.
You do it. Can we name anybody else who's done that besides you and me? Or when we list for everybody, we've looked at it and when they prayed about it, and even for you, there was a moment where you didn't do it. When that whole situation happened with the finances, what was the reason why you failed? You didn't do what I told you to do. You didn't follow my instructions, even give it a shot. And so when you followed my instructions and actually did it, what happened? How long did it take you to find a job? A week?
I think
You've
a
been
week
looking
or
for a
two.
month and a half.
I think it was like a week or two.
Yeah, it was like a week or two. And you've been looking for a month and a half, 2 months. That's where the whole frustration came up. And then just consider how many opportunities you lost by not doing it the way I talked about from the beginning. Because you might have been able to get a job even sooner if you had followed that instruction and did it that way. So the bottom line is when it comes to things of God for you now, you follow, but we all had to go through that. But the main point I'm getting at is 18 goes along with that too. And my people, whose people? God's people,
God's people. Yep.
shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting place. Sounds a lot like the impact from 17, doesn't it?
Mhm.
So, how do you and I live? When you walk in my house, does it feel like chaos or does it feel like peace?
No, it feels like peace.
Feels like peace. When you walk into Chad's house to have that dinner, how did it feel in there?
It's funny. I can't say peace though.
You see what I'm saying? You can be having a good time and still not feel that peace. And then the sure dwellings, not worried about nothing. God's got you. And in quiet resting places, you're just relaxing. That's the bottom line. And with that in mind, now I gotta say you were wrong. 16 through 19 are all connected.
You got 16 to 19 with the steps
I would say
and then
16
the effect.
majority to 17, but yeah, 16 is the cause and 17 to 19 is the effect or comparison. But it's all talking about the same thing. The judgment taking place in the wilderness. Well, who's the judge? Righteousness remaining in the fruitful field, and the work of righteousness being peace, and the people dwelling in a peaceable habitation. Does that really sound like it's disconnected? Now that sounds like a majority connection in that time
Yeah,
frame.
yeah, yeah, because of the cause and effect. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
When you
cause
bring
and
up the
effect.
cause and effect, yeah, it does actually.
So the only one that we're in question of is verse 20. But I could connect 20 to 16, but we don't have enough confirmation for it. But sowing beside all the waters. Well, if you're being a righteous judge, you're also being a prepared person, aren't you?
Right.
So there's a potential for 20 being connected, but 17 to 19 is definitely connected. But go ahead with your explanation.
Now, and my people shall, well, let me go to 18. And my people shall dwell in a peaceful habitation and in dwellings and in sure dwellings and in the quiet resting places. So pretty self-explanatory about the people that follow God. They're being in a peaceful place to stay. Everything's peaceful. Everything's cool. Everything you can rest. Everything's chill. You're not having anything bad going on. No pandemonium. Peace. We all love peace. But verse 19,
Yeah, we
you're gonna
wish.
be
Not everybody loves peace. Sorry, like when
but
you said that, I had to correct that because, like, nah, you would think so, but no,
we need to tie him up, throw him in a room somewhere. Don't say nothing.
exactly. Put the white
But
straps on the arms, make sure they're tied behind their back. Abs,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
In a padded room, definitely
Hmm.
peaceful.
But they'll be the people that are dwelling in peace. They'll be in their peaceful situation. They'll be in their peaceful, restful place when it shall hail, and this hail come into the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place. If the city's in a low place, then this sounds like a sunken place.
What?
When you talk about like a low place
Charles, that didn't make sense.
or just a humbled place, like that's that
There, well, not humble. Humble. Mm-mm.
you wouldn't use humble.
Nah, because when a city shall be low in a low place, right after talking about when it shall hail, both of those are timing, right?
What do you mean both of those is timing?
When it shall hail coming down on the forest,
Oh yeah, yeah, timing
and
as
the
in like this
city
had
shall be low in a low place.
okay, yeah, no, timing in the sense of when these people are going to be dwelling in a safe place. Yes, then yes, yeah, there was timing in
You see
that.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So those are supposed to be negatives then.
negatives are is giving us a time like a timing of a negative situation that tells us this for verse 18.
Well, no, not timing. I said those are a timing, but it's using that to compare to 18. And I'll read them together.
Okay, I'm reading them together. And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation and in sure dwellings and in quiet resting places when it shall hail, coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place.
Mm-hmm.
Is it comparing God's people being in a restful place, safety
Yeah.
place, safety restful place versus everything else?
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Got it. Let me write that down.
You
Yeah,
know
let
what
me
you
write
didn't
that
do that
down.
you're supposed to do after we know the sections? When you get to them, you're
What did I
supposed to
not do?
read the section together. You already said 18 and 19, right?
Yeah, I already had put them together, so
So what were you supposed to do? When you went to
read
read
them.
18, read it with 19.
Read them. Still writing something down.
You're good.
All right, and then verse 20. After the comparison of God's people, the people that follow God, what they're going to be in versus everybody else. Verse 20. Blessed are ye that sow beside all waters, that send forth thither the feet of the ox and the asses. That sounds like a just a hopeful message to not a hopeful message, but like bless. In other words, blessed are those that are doing the things that they're supposed to do, sowing at the waters, the preparation part, and those that are also, sending your farm animals out, doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, that's all I can say to
Exactly.
that.
No, perfect. All right. Now, anything you want to add or say before we go to the second section? Now would be the time to raise your hand.
No,
Well, remember, raising hand.
raise your hand.
Just
Yeah,
cause
my bad.
just cause nobody's on here, we want to keep the habit. We don't
Hmm.
want to start like accidentally calling it out when somebody else is on.
Got it.
All right. Now then, I'll go ahead and read the second section, which is in chapter 33, verses 1 to 5. All right, verse 1 to 5. I'll give everybody a second. All right, verse 1. Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. O Lord, be gracious unto us. We have waited for thee. Be thou their arm every morning, our salvation also in the time to come. At the noise of the tumult
Time of
of the
trouble.
people, but oh,
No,
time of
verse 2.
trouble.
Time of trouble.
I got so used to time to come. That was a habit. That was my bad. And our salvation also in the time of trouble. At the noise of the tumult, actually, let me say this. Thank you, Charles, for the correction.
No problem.
What did I do? I just like, oh yeah, man, you're right. That's how you do things as a Christian. Anyways, O Lord, be gracious unto us. We have waited for thee. Be thou their arm every morning, our salvation also in the time of trouble. At the noise of the tumult, the people fled. At the lifting up of thyself, the nations were scattered. And your spoil shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar. As the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. The Lord is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness. First thing first, obviously, this is not connected to the last chapter. This is a whole new thing. This is talking about the people who are screwing over people that are not screwing over them. So, different group, which also means that as to what we read in the last chapter, we didn't have any confirmation yet from it. Not yet. We didn't have any confirmation, period. So I would say most likely prophetic speech, but we have to say we didn't have enough to confirm it. That's how we would have to explain that, Charles. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're
Got
saying.
it. Okay. There we go. All right. Now, for my sections, one is its own section. Then we got two. Then we got three. Three is with four. And five is standing alone. Now, we have potential connection, Charles. Do you know where the potential connection is to the last chapter?
Not at the moment.
It's in verse 5. We read about the judgment in the wilderness and the righteousness in the fruitful field. And then it brings up in 5 that he had filled Zion with judgment and righteousness. Does that make sense?
Let me read. And which connection with the last chapter? Let me go back to that last chapter. Which verse?
About the wilderness being filled with judgment in the
Oh
wilderness,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
the righteousness remaining in a fruitful field. Well,
Hmm.
we've read before with Zion, right? Or in the wilderness of Zion. We've read that exact phrasing before. So it could be in reference to that. So
Got
there's
it.
potential in 5 to be connected.
Got it.
But without remembering the wilderness of Zion thing, you wouldn't really catch the connection entirely. The judgment and righteous, maybe, but we've read a lot of things about being filled with righteous and judgment. That doesn't necessarily mean it connects. But Zion has been, as we've read before, I don't know if you remember reading it or if it sounds familiar, but we've read before the exact phrase, the wilderness of Zion.
I don't remember it at the moment.
Here, let me figure out where we were when we read it. Do a search real quick. Wilderness of Zion. Isaiah chapter 16. Send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah to the wilderness unto the mount of the daughter of Zion. Then Isaiah 50. Well, we haven't gotten to 51. Deuteronomy also, wilderness of Moab. But we've read it like that in a few places. When they traveled through the wilderness to get to Mount Zion or Mount Sinai, that wilderness is the same area.
Got it. It'll probably kick in. It's gonna be a while, but Isaiah the 50, what chapter you say? 53?
51 is what it said.
51. It'll probably kick in there.
Yeah, 51:3. For the Lord shall comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places and will make her wilderness like Eden.
That also sounds like something we brought up in one of the listenings. One of us did.
Hmm. All right. Now, continuing on. So, 3 and 4 connected. 5 is a standalone at the moment. Potentially connected, but a standalone at the moment. Now, on to the actual explanation. Word of warning to the ones that are spoiling others when they're not getting spoiled by them, and deal treacherously or like trying to get one over on people when no one's trying to get one over on them. When the time comes and there's nothing left for them to get, they're going to be the one that's taken advantage of. They're going to be the one that gets things taken from them. So that's what 1 is saying. And then in verse 2, it's a plea to God to be gracious unto them, which from that perspective, we got to understand that that's most likely Isaiah talking. Oh Lord, be gracious unto us. Unless it shows something of prophetically of the people of a different time, that's Isaiah speaking, asking for God to be gracious to them and to be by their side every morning and to save them when times of trouble happen. And then it brings up at the noise of tumult, which is when trouble happens, in other words, chaos, trouble, either way, the people are fleeing and lifting up, and at the lifting up of thyself. So talking to God again, when God lifts himself up, the nations were scattered. So it's bringing up in comparison to how when everything goes crazy, when God's making this happen, the people flee from him. And when God stands up to do something, all the nations are scared. They run scared. And then we get into verse 4. So let me rephrase 2 through 4 connected. And your spoil shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar. As the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. Well, when locusts run upon someone, they go out in mass. So your spoil or your takings that you're going to get, they're going to be gathered together like the gathering of a caterpillar. Well, when we think of a caterpillar, do caterpillars gather, Charles? Do they gather for the winter?
No, they usually just
Exactly, they don't. So then it has to be a reference to how the caterpillar is. Think about the body of a caterpillar. It looks like groupings of stuff stuffed together. So this is using the representation of how a caterpillar looks, multiple pockets shoved together in a tight space, to explain how much God is going to get from when he's taking from them in the spoil he's going to get from gathering from them. It's like the way a caterpillar's body is. That's a process of elimination is how I was able to get that. Does that make sense, Charles?
yeah. Because with the had you not brought up everything with that, it'd throw me off.
Yeah.
Had you not started off with do they gather in the winter? No. And then when you broke it down to boom, 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 how the caterpillar before it gets into that cocoon, how it's just a bunch of stuff all mangled up together for them specifically, the caterpillar.
Exactly. The way their body is. Yep.
Yeah.
Good. And then as towards the to and fro as locusts, that's talking about getting swarmed, which is a crazy view to consider. People getting swarmed by God. I just imagine God stepping and then a massive cloud like do you remember how in Harry Potter it looked like when the evil people would fly and they had that black smoke?
Mhm.
Well, I imagine a massive foot walking on earth and then that smoke just flowing forth all out over the people.
Like you know what I'm thinking about when you think of that? Remember Legion? Remember how that black smoke came
Yes.
from the sky?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
That's the way I visualize that. And then the last part, the Lord is exalted, he is lifted up, for he dwelleth on high. He lives on high. Of course, he's exalted. because he lives on high, obviously. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness. 5 is Isaiah just praising God and verbally recognizing, well, not recognizing, verbally stating just the excellency that God is. He is exalted, he is lifted up, he lives on high, and he fills Zion with judgment and righteousness. So we're just talking about the excellency of God and what kind of God he is. Now, do you have any comments or questions as we go to the last section? Now would be the time to raise your hand, Charles. I can't wait to have people on so much so that when I say raise your hands, I'd be like, okay, we're gonna go in this order.
It's gonna be a interesting day.
That'll be nice. All right. Now go ahead, Charles, and finish this out when you're ready.
I'll be reading Isaiah chapter 33, verses 6 to 9. Give it a couple seconds. Verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. Behold, their valiant ones shall cry without. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man ceaseth. He hath broken the covenant. He hath despised the cities. He regardeth no man. The earth mourneth and languisheth. Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Let me double check the name on this one. Sharon. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits. Huh. So first thing, verse 6 sounds like it. I got it connected to 5 before I get into the the pandemonium.
6?
I
Yes.
got verse 6 with 5. Like 5 and 6 should be a section. That's what I got it as.
Mm-hmm.
And then verse 7, 8, and 9, I got that as an overall pandemonium type. There's bad things happening piece by piece by
Eh,
piece by piece.
nope.
You don't got that?
Nope. Because he separated it. What happens with judgment? There
Oh,
also has to
punishment.
be punishment, right?
Yeah, also has to be punishment.
Well, we're talking in 6 about the wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of the times and
Mhm.
strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. And then we go into, behold, the valiant one shall cry out. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. What does that sound like? They don't have stability.
Hmm.
The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man. Okay, this is one where you should be able to know based on the way the words are inside the word. What does wayfaring mean?
You said I should know based off the words, but um,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, what does it mean by wayfaring? This is something that I wouldn't know based off the words. The words
What does it
they
mean
don't
for
have
how
it.
something's faring?
That I truly don't know. Like I don't.
Oh, okay, never
That's
mind.
why I truly have no clue.
Wayfaring is like you're moving back and forth. Think like you're all over the place.
Let me write that down. All over the place.
You don't have any stability, any consistency. For example, and the reason I said the words should be able to let you know, faring is how something's going. And the way it's the direction of which. So wayfaring, you keep going in different directions. faring this way, faring that way, wayfaring. Do you see what I'm saying?
That's what you're saying.
Now go to the dictionary definition for wayfaring.
The wayfaring man. Strong's. A primitive route to cross over, used very widely of any transition or transition. Literally or figuratively. Transiv transitively, intransitively, intensively or causatively, specifically to cover, in copulation, alienate, alter, at
See what
all.
I'm saying? So you're just going on, just going on. That's why it's next to the highways lie waste. The wayfaring man can't go nowhere, so the wayfaring man ceases. The highways are just waste. They're destroyed. Does that make sense?
The wayfaring part, yes, but you're saying I should have put everything in one section because of all of this thing going on. Sounds like judgment.
Well, no. Everything from 7 to 9 is a lack of stability. It's chaos, problem.
That's right. That's what I was the pandemonium. That's what I was saying earlier.
Oh, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it judgment
No,
because
earlier
what,
I didn't say it was judgment. I just said all of them have one thing in common, and it's pandemonium. There's all this trouble going on, all of these
yeah,
things going on.
yeah, but I would say it's connected because, like, and I would say majority connected because in 6, we're talking about the people who are following God. We're using that wisdom and knowledge, they have stability. And
Hmm.
then we go into 7 to 9 of all the people who are not. The valiant one shall cry out. Well, what does valiant mean? Brave. We're talking warriors. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. Well, what does an ambassador do? They communicate to try to resolve or build a contract. Ambassadors of peace, trying to build peace between people. Why would you be weeping bitterly? There is no peace for them. So we got all these different ones that are different forms of the chaos. And then we got in 6 the people who are following God having stability. And as we read before, having peace.
Kind of like a, could I say, kind of like a heads and tails? Heads, you got the people
Yes.
that are following God and they're stable and everything's good.
Yep.
Tails, you got the opposite. You
You know what
got
the word for that is?
uh,
Contrast.
mm, so my section has the contrast between those that follow and those that don't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but because we have that contrast, you would
But
put that
not
as a
follow God, but follow the wisdom and knowledge.
follow the wisdom and knowledge. Would you put that that was all in so you would put that all in one section, even though we have that contrast?
No, I said it would majority connected because of it, because it's a
Uh,
compare and contrast. It's all part of doing one thing. Now, would I say it's a full connection as towards like sections? Kind of, yeah. Because if you read them separately, what depiction do you get? Read 6 by itself out loud.
all right. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure.
All right. Sounds like the wisdom and knowledge is going to be giving stability for some people.
Mhm.
Now leave that alone. Just read 7 to 9 together.
All right. Behold, their valued ones shall cry without. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man ceaseth. He hath broken the covenant. He hath despised the cities. He regardeth no man. The earth mourneth and languisheth. Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Sharon, Sharon, almost did it wrong. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits.
Now here goes the question. What the heck is that talking about?
When I read it separately, I think the same thing. The like the heads and tails. I think of like this is all these bad things going on because you didn't have what verse 6 had.
Well, no, but that's by you connecting it. When you don't connect it, that makes no sense. Who is there? Their.
If I was to just, if I like, let's say if I wasn't thinking about 6, if I just thought about 7 to
Yeah,
9,
if you
who
just
would the
had
theirs
7,
be?
8, and 9, because that's what we're talking about when we say sections. When we say sections, we're talking about it being connected or not connected, and to what degree it's connected. So if you
You
just
got a
look at
point.
7, 8, and 9 by itself, that makes no sense in what we're reading at all.
You got a
Behold
point
their
because now I
valiant ones.
gotta,
Who the heck is that?
yeah, I have to go all the way back to try to force who there is when you don't include 6.
Exactly.
I get it now. Got it. I got you now.
And this goes back into what I was trying to teach you before about overall point. When we're talking about sections, we're talking about overall point being connected. Is the overall point of 7, 8, and 9 connected to 6?
Is the
Charles?
overall, yeah, I think about that when I think about the coin. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. The overall point is the contrast. So it has to be a section because the overall point is connected.
hmm
See what I'm saying?
yeah, I see what you're saying.
All right. So now go ahead with your explanation.
All right. So starting off, verse 6, when you're talking to, well, here, I'll read it. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. Before I add into what we got into like our listenings, but wisdom and knowledge will be your stability in those times. The wisdom and knowledge is going to be when you're talking about the stability. Stability is what's holding you up, what's keeping you, going. You're not left and right. You got your wisdom and your knowledge. That's what's holding you in that particular time period, or holding you up in that particular time period, and the strength of
Not quite.
salvation
Who is thy?
of thy times.
Mm-hmm.
Thy times. That has to be talking about. I can't say God followers. That's too broad.
Charles, what are you supposed to do?
Let me go back
There you go.
and read. Let me go back because I have it connected to 5. Let me go back to 5. The Lord is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Let me make sure I don't have to go back to any other verses first.
No, that was it.
The Lord is exalted. Let me reread one more time. The Lord is exalted,
Mm-hmm.
for he dwelleth on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Children of Israel.
Exactly. In relation to Zion.
So he's talking about the children of Israel with the wisdom and knowledge being their stability.
Also, behold
Okay.
behold their valiant ones. Whose valiant ones? So this is not
Valiant ones
talking
would
about
be
the
the
children of Israel as a whole. Because there is also correlated to that, right then?
it would
So who
be.
would there be? The people in Zion. So we got the ones who have wisdom and knowledge is what's going to be the stability of Zion's times. But their valiant ones will cry out. So what's the difference? Where's that separation? The wisdom and knowledge being the stability. Then if they don't have stability, what do they have to be missing?
They're
The
missing
wisdom
wisdom
and
and
knowledge.
knowledge.
Exactly. So we're talking about two different groups of the children of Israel again. Those who are actually using God's wisdom and knowledge, and those who don't.
Writing this down as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which goes back to that contrast that you were bringing up.
Mm-hmm.
So verse 6, the ones that have the wisdom and knowledge in Zion are going to be stable. The ones that and the strength of salvation, all those verse 6, those of Zion will be straight, in other words, versus verse 7, 8, and 9. Now you're getting into those that don't have the wisdom and knowledge. They don't have the strength of salvation. Now we're listing down all of the things they're having to deal with because they don't have what's in verse 6.
Exactly.
How it goes down. The valiant ones are crying out without. That's without means outside, just in case for first time. What's up with my phone? The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. Well, why are you weeping bitterly? You're supposed to be the ambassadors of peace. You're supposed to be trying to bring peace together, bring people together for peace. Why are you out there weeping bitterly? Highways lie waste, wasted highways. Nobody's on them. You explained to me earlier with the Wayfair man. The Wayfair man, it was all over the place. He just stopped. He ceased. The list goes on and on and on of all the
Exactly. He can't
things.
travel nowhere.
He can't travel nowhere. The list goes on about all of these things happening to those that didn't have that wisdom and knowledge, and then those that don't have the strength of salvation.
And notice one thing you forgot to point out in 6.
Let me go back to 6. The fear of the Lord is his treasure.
So those who have wisdom and knowledge, for them, the fear of the Lord is his treasure. That's an interesting and very important way of phrasing that. Think about that for a moment. What would that mean? Why would the fear of the Lord be his treasure, the ones that have wisdom and knowledge?
I gotta get it. I want to get it out the right way. I'm trying to think of a way to get it
Okay.
out the right way.
I'll give you about 15 seconds.
All right.
All right. Nope, don't got it.
No, not a way to get it out right.
If you are wise and you have knowledge, there's a thing called Pascal's wager. I've talked to you about this before. Do you remember what Pascal's wager is?
Not even close. No.
All right. Pascal's wager is about, logically speaking, if it makes sense to follow God, regardless if it's true or not. It's a bet, and which side makes sense to do. 4 options. 1, You follow God and it turns out to be fake. 2, you follow God and it turns out to be true. 3, you don't follow God and it turns out to be fake. 4, you follow God. I mean, you don't follow God and it turns out to be real. And it's about what is the safest bet? What is the best bet to make out of the 4? If God is real or God is not real, and whether you follow him or don't follow him. And the only one that makes sense is to follow him, logically speaking. Because if it turns out that God's not real, then you just cease to exist and you lived a godly life. You enjoyed life.
It's peaceful. I
You've
remember us
had the
talking
peaceful
about that.
life.
Hmm.
Yeah. If it turns out that God exists and you do follow him, you have eternal salvation. That's a positive. If it turns out that God is not real and you didn't follow him, you just cease to exist. No different than if you did follow him. And if it turns out that God is real and you don't follow him, then you have eternal damnation. Only one of these options is a true negative, and only one of these options is a true positive. So in Pascal's wager, or the wager of whether or not it logically makes sense to follow God, it makes more logical sense. It's the safer bet to follow God, not to not follow God. Because if it turns out it's fake, whether you follow or not, nothing happens. But if it turns out it's real, if you don't follow him, you go to the lake of fire. If you do follow him, you go to salvation. That's Pascal's wager. That's why also wisdom and knowledge, when that's the stability of the times, for those that have wisdom and knowledge, the fear of the Lord is his treasure. You're not just following and having the fear of the Lord because you have to. It is your treasure. It is what's important to you. Think about for you and me compared to everybody else. And I hate to bring it up, but it makes sense. Charles, is the fear of the Lord any of their treasures?
If other people know.
Exactly. And I'll use you for an example from that time frame as well. When that time happened and you were struggling financially and you were about to lead the church, was the fear of the Lord your treasure?
Not in that moment.
And when we look at that time frame as well, were you being wise or using knowledge?
No.
So, ironically, when the fear of the Lord is not someone's treasure, they also lack wisdom and knowledge. It works the same vice versa. When the fear of the Lord is not your treasure, you lack wisdom and knowledge. And if you actually had wisdom and knowledge, you would also have the fear of the Lord because it just holds true. I'm gonna bring this up. This is so perfect. I love the way God works. I put a post out on Facebook, and this post that I shared was from somebody else that made it originally. And it has, do you remember the Lord of the Rings, Frodo Baggins' dad or uncle or whatever?
Oh, the one that had the ring first. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You know how he looks all sweet and innocent when he's just doing his regular smile, but then remember
I know
the
where you're going
scene
with
where,
this.
yeah, yeah. Remember the scene where his eyes bulge out and he's freaking out when he's like, the ring, give me the ring.
Yeah, the T chain. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Okay. The post I that I shared from somebody else said with the peaceful picture, atheist when they're asking you for evidence. And then the crazed bulging eyes, and it says atheist when you start giving them evidence. Now, there's a guy I knew from when I first became a trucker. And when I first became a trucker, real nice person, chill guy, talks a lot of smack, just like you and me, but a real cool person. He responded to this post saying, "Not this atheist. I don't try to prove there is or isn't a God. This country was basically founded on freedom of religion. I call atheists who try to there isn't a God preachy atheists." And so I told him, I was like, haha, yeah, but you knew exactly who I'm talking about. We both got the same problem with them as we do fake Christians who know nothing about the Bible. And you and I haven't talked about evidence for God with you. I said, you and I haven't talked about evidence for God with you yet, though, I think. So who knows? Shoot, you up for the discussion? And guess what he says?
First his eye popped out, his T chain, but go ahead. I
Right.
know where this is
No,
going.
no, he said no. He said, nah, I respect your relationship with God, and I don't want to get into a holy war.
It sounds like you won't accept the ring, Frodo Baggins.
Do you see what I'm
He doesn't
saying?
want to accept
Like,
the
what we're
ring.
reading, this happened, this literally, with this comment to the post was literally just before Bible study, like by a couple
You know what
hours.
he is? He would be Gandalf in that situation.
Like, that's what I'm
He would
saying.
be
Like, you
Gandalf in
lack
that
wisdom
situation.
and knowledge. You say you're an atheist, and remember what I told you. Atheism is the absence of knowledge and deep diving context.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I didn't use those exact words, but I used the same concept because that's what it is. What makes you an atheist? Well, I don't believe there's enough evidence to prove that God exists. We have an expanding universe with pre-designed positions, and you may try to call it gravity, but gravity is a pulling power. Anything that has a pulling power, when two of them are pulling towards each other, will eventually clash, not swing around each other and continually miss. The fact that they're holding their positions proves that the way we teach gravity is a false science, not factually true. So, divine design is provable and evident. Then we go into history. Even non Christians, and more specifically, anti Christians, have openly admitted to Christ's crucifixion. Okay, we got his realness showing. His his crucifixion is also documented and provable through medical and psychological testing. So, science, psychology, and historical evidence all points to and proves the existence not only of a God, but more specifically the Christian God being the one true God. And you say that you comment on my post saying, "Not this atheist, I don't try to prove anything." What was the point of that? You just want to be different? Because the whole point of the post literally says, when atheists ask you for evidence. Well, I guess you're not the type of atheist that asks for evidence then. This isn't talking about you.
When you do that, you know that's like people reaching for the ring. The ring is that what you just did.
Yeah.
They're reaching for it.
Yeah.
That's what he's reaching for it. But he really is like, I don't want it, but I'm reaching for that conversation. But I don't want to have that conversation. That's really what it is. It's funny that you bring it
Yeah.
up.
Because in that situation We're literally talking about a post that says when atheists ask for evidence versus when you provide it to them and their response, how they freak out. They don't accept the evidence. They don't like it. Goes against what they want to believe. And you're an atheist who doesn't do that. So then why comment on the post? It's obviously not talking about you. The moment you put on that, you felt like it was an attack on all atheists. That's why you commented that. Because you felt like it impacted you because you claim you're an atheist. But when I offer to go into a discussion, which when it comes to proving evidence, Charles, you've seen the way I am. We saw it on that even before it became an argument. When somebody's willing to have a peaceful discussion, how am I when it comes to a discussion of facts and evidence? Charles, are you muted?
Oh, that's crazy. I was muted this whole time. Not bad. You start off peaceful and you bring up other things. Like you bring up other like, oh well, you'll send it in like text messages basically. Oh well, here's what this proves. Here's what this proves. But you'll start off peaceful and you'll bring in
Yeah,
evidence.
yeah. I don't get hostile until the other person does. So when
Or
the
if the other
guy
person
said,
lies.
or yeah, that's a big pet. Yeah, that's when I got to work on because that's really when it like it really. I got to listen to that one. I haven't gotten to that one yet, but I'm gonna listen to that. I'm gonna figure out what was the point where I exploded because it'll be good to know to where I don't explode next time. But back to this. The ones who have wisdom and knowledge, they have the fear of the Lord. And then you look at all these so-called professors who are supposed to be so smart. And then you look at how far they go going away from science and facts because they don't have true wisdom and knowledge. All they have is regurgitation. All they have is word vomit that's been forced down their throats like it's some type of Sunday dinner. Want to talk about indoctrinating somebody? No one is more indoctrinated than people who go to college in the educational system today. Nobody. Even people who teach their children Christianity and teach them that it's the truth and all that, they always teach them at least a little bit to read and get context. That's not what's taught in college. That's not what's taught from these people. So I only met one person who had a college degree who wasn't an actual idiot, which is crazy. One person. And it was a psychologist. And she and I agreed on everything. So you mean to tell me the only person who's not a complete idiot, her and I actually agree? Crazy how a logical person and a person who has a degree end up to the same exact point. So what was the point of the college degree? So that's the bottom line of it. Wisdom and knowledge. The fear of the Lord is the treasure. God comes first in my life. And that doesn't mean I don't sin. That doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. But that means how I live my life and what I strive to do and strive to be, he comes first. It's not even a question. I mean, we saw what happened in this Bible study on accident when I misread something. You corrected me, and what did I do? I didn't even discuss it. I said, oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah. And I fixed it. I had a sort of appreciation for the correction. You see what I mean, Charles? I
Right.
was grateful for the correction. It wasn't even just a, okay, you corrected me. No, it was a thank you for correcting me. That's a difference maker. That's what is the difference. It's not about taking correction. Somebody tells it to you and you just stay silent. That's not accepting correction. Accepting correction is what I did just there. My first reaction was gratitude. That was my first reaction. When somebody corrects me and what I'm doing is wrong, I mean, you've corrected me before. What's my reaction when it turns out I am wrong? And I'm not just talking about you telling me I'm wrong, but it's confirmed. Has there ever been a time where I dismiss what you say?
No.
Not once. And who's the disciple and who's the discipler here?
Yeah, I'm the disciple. You're the discipler.
But you've
This
corrected
goes
me and
this
I've
goes before
accepted gratefully.
right. This goes before I even became a disciple in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the bottom line. That's why those with wisdom and knowledge, those who have that as their stability, just like Zion in this time frame is talking about, the fear of the Lord is their treasure. All right. Now then, I kind of made that one go a little bit longer than expected.
It's all
Go
good.
ahead and well, it's basically been all explained. It's just a bunch of problems and chaos for those that don't actually have wisdom and knowledge being their stability in the land of Zion of the children of Israel. So, there's one other thing that you haven't brought up, and it's in verse 9. That's your hint.
Let me go
And it's
back.
something we've heard before that gives this a no longer a possibility, but a potential, a most likely.
Most likely. The earth, let me make sure I'm unmuted. The earth mourneth and languisheth. Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits. I'm not catching it at the moment.
All right. The earth is mourning and languishing. What's the root word there? Anguish. The earth is feeling some problems. Lebanon is ashamed and cut down. Sharon is like a wilderness. It's like the middle of nowhere. Nothing there. And Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits. Where have we heard about fruits being shaken off, Charles?
It was in we just did it in Isaiah, but it was like
Yeah,
chapters ago about the branches. Some would stay, but a lot of them would be we like cut off or
of the
just shaken
olive
off.
tree.
Of the
And
all,
what
yeah,
was
there
the
we go.
context referencing that to?
Wasn't that referencing to the ones that were staying on the tree were ready to be saved versus the ones shooken off the tree, they're not going to be saved?
Yes,
Okay, I'm glad I remembered that. I remember a piece of that.
exactly. So, what we're talking about here, it may not be talking about the end times. However, there's a strong possibility, a most likely, that it is talking about because we're getting references that we've already gotten in Isaiah specifically that did reference to the end times. The fruits being shaken off, the fruits being the production of the spirit or the production of more godly people. So that being taken off. And then we got the earth mourning. The earth mourning. It's crazy. So you see what I'm saying? It's
I see
most
what you're
likely
saying
dealing
now.
with the end times now.
Now, when you brought that up and I thought about that, yeah, now I see what you're saying.
And then keep in mind that in 8, the highways lie waste. The wayfaring man ceaseth. He hath broken the covenant. The one who keeps wanting to travel to other places has broken the covenant rather than being here with God. Sounds like people who serve other gods. Sounds like the people who don't have the covenant with God. So again, this sounds like we're talking about eternal damnation and eternal salvation, not talking about life as while we're living on earth, as the most likely. Because it is possible we're talking about a real specific time frame that would be in the past where Lebanon, I mean, if you go to Lebanon, is it some great city? It didn't say that it would be destroyed and nothing existing, so it's possible it could rebuild, but were they cut down at any time? That also adds to it. I mean, matter of fact, hold on. That's something we could look at to get a little confirmation. Lebanon has never been completely destroyed as a whole country. However, parts of its capital, Beirut, and numerous southern villages have faced extensive and systematic destruction at various times throughout history. So, Lebanon's never been cut down. Well, if it's never been cut down even to this point, then what would this have to reference?
And Tom's.
So now we have some confirmation from things in the Bible and out connected. So 33 is talking about the end times. And the way we're able to confirm it is because of what I just was able to do with research. This is part of how we confirm. We can look at what it states in the Bible and if it's taken place yet, especially when it's speaking in a somewhat prophetic language.
I just wrote that down.
Yep. All right. Now, do you have anything you want to add or say before we pray out the Bible study portion? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right. Then I'll go ahead and pray us out from the Bible study portion. Go ahead and bow your heads. Father, thank you for this day that you've given us to be able to read your word more, to be able to see both language that was at that current time and the way those that are wise behave versus those that are unwise, and to be able to have so many references, even outside the Bible, that just confirm your word to be true and confirm what your word means. We don't have to add or subtract from the word to be able to get an understanding. We just have to compare, and we can see that it's not a contradiction. And I pray, God, for those that as came up today, both those that are atheists and those that have been false Christians, and even those that are struggling and have just became Christians. They're not necessarily false. Even if there was a time of needed of separation, it was only temporary. So we pray, God, when they come back, and for those that haven't been here before, we pray that they get an opportunity at some time, that they do choose to see what it's about before they pass. That God, it would open up their eyes and their hearts, that your spirit would dwell in them. Maybe not so much to the point of salvation if they don't want it, but we pray that it tug on their heart at least. We know that it has to be their choice. But we know, as we've seen from today and from people's behaviors in the last few weeks, including what's been happening this entire year, we have seen how this word holds true. That those who are wise and those who have understanding, the fear of you, it is their treasure. It's not something we have to do. It's not something that we have to be like. It's something we want to do. It's something we desire to be like, to keep with us at all times. And we pray, God, that even if it's just a little bit, for everyone that has been here before, that you put a pulling on their hearts, especially with this new year coming in, to at minimum reflect on the fact that they're not here and that this is where they should be. And for those that will be here in the future, we pray that they're actually open to hearing the truth and that they are willing to stand on truth. And just like what happened in the Bible study today when I made a mistake, they don't just receive the correction as in being silent and listening, but they receive the correction with a grateful heart. It's not something that needs to be debated and argued about. It's something that's supposed to be part of who we are if we are going to follow you. In your son's holy and precious name, Jesus Christ Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Now, tonight's Bible listening is Songs of Solomon, chapter 3, to Isaiah, chapter 11. And you know what that means, Charles? We are almost caught back up again.
Yay.
Yay! And at the beginning of the year. You know what that also means, bro? If we didn't have the missed days, we would have caught back up to ourselves on the New Year's Eve.
We would have been
'Cause
past it, actually.
no, because it was no, yeah, because it was like 4
We would have
days
been
in
past
total.
it. Yeah, yeah, we'd have been
Yeah,
past it already. We'd have been in another
past
book.
ourselves. Why do I keep putting 27? I put 27. I put January 1st, 27 when I messaged the company about my load for tomorrow. That's funny. All right. So now, last. Wait. Actually, do you have the listening for tonight
I got
already?
you. I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. All right. Now, last night's listening was Proverbs chapter 26 to Songs of Solomon chapter 2. And go ahead with what stuck out to you.
I got plenty because Proverbs, there's
Yeah,
too
same
many
here.
to. Yeah, what's funny is I got like five in one chapter. I got five in Proverbs 27. I might just bring up something out of Proverbs 27.
That was the one for me too. Like I had a bunch in there.
Oh, you got one from there? I could do Ecclesiastes.
No. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that like I had a bunch in there. There was a lot in today's that stuck out, but I didn't write
Uh,
anything down because I was like, "Ugh, it's hard to decide."
the biggest one. I'll give you the reason why. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 1. This is something you said many, many times.
Yep.
Many times. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Remember when I said, "Oh man, I'm probably just gonna work with KB Transportation." Now
Yep.
I'm not working with KB Transportation.
Exactly.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna work with them. If no one else gives me an offer, or if no one else gives me if either no one else gives me a decent offer, no one else gives me an offer, whatever it may be, I'll just go with them. Now I'm not gonna go with them at all, which I'm glad I'm not, because I would have wasted my time had I went out there and then it'd have been just another back and forth. I don't need another back and forth. Break this law, break that law. I've been through that too many times with too many trucking companies. They're an
Yeah.
American company. I don't want to have to. I'm trying to work with somebody who can actually follow the law. If the pay cut's a pay cut, cool, but let's follow the law.
Yeah. And stand on their word when they say it's going to be a certain way, let it be that certain way.
Let it be the certain way. But yeah, no, this is a great one because I thought I was going to be working with them. I'm not.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's mine. Let me know what you got.
All right. So on that one, I would say also the fact that it's like it boils back into the fact of boasting about tomorrow. Why not get done today what you can get done? People like to wait till tomorrow for everything, bro. And it's like, if you take, for example, my situation. when they tried to get me a load that would have screwed over my 34-hour reset and had me on recaps.
Mhm.
I didn't even have enough to make it. Now, for the pickup, I could have driven as far as I was going to be able to do it today, 5 hours, and then waited all the way till midnight, and I would have had another 12 hours available. So I could have done that. But then I killed a whole 34-hour and I sat for over 24 hours again because of bad planning. If they would have done correctly and planned ahead, having a load ready, instead of trying to push one in at the last minute, it wouldn't have been an issue. And so that's part of what sticks out to me on that. Now, as towards mine, I'm still trying to decide because there was so much. Like even in Proverbs 30, like
Too many. I mean, I got some of you know what's funny? I got Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. I have none from Songs of Solomon on the I think like
yeah, same here.
the only time I wrote something for Songs of Solomon was the first time we were writing it down and then bringing it up. I haven't done one since.
Yeah.
Like you got one. I know you got one that there is one come. I think it's coming up. There's one that's funny that you're probably gonna bring up.
Oh, I mean, even the one. Fine, I will do this one.
You can do whatever you want, but the one I'm talking about is probably coming up. It's either I think it's gonna be this one coming up. The one
Could
about the
be, but
woman and all the song and all of that. That was funny.
all right. So mine will be from Ecclesiastes 1, and we're gonna go from verse 12 to 16. Oh, 12 to 17. I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. And I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of men to be exercised with. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight, and that which is wanting cannot be numbered. I communed with my own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate, and have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I gave my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is vexation of spirit. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. This is so funny to me because in the same stupid statement, Solomon is talking about he had a heart to get wisdom and to know madness and folly. Charles, where is the wisdom in wanting to know madness and foolishness?
I don't see it.
Exactly.
I'm not asking for that either. You can take
Like,
that out. Just give me the wisdom.
like this is where his problem was. If all you wanted to know was wisdom, you would have been fine.
Yeah.
Because logically speaking, Charles, which wisdom uses logic, does it make sense for me to delve into madness and foolishness if there's a God who gave me this wisdom to begin with who says that those are bad?
No, it doesn't make sense. You know what's funny? You don't even have to have all the wisdom to already know madness and folly. Do we not know? We all know it.
Yeah,
We don't even have to
that's
have
like
wisdom to
saying,
know it.
you know what this is like saying? This is like a kid who's saying that he wanted to try all the sinful things because he felt like his testimony from growing up in the church wasn't a strong enough testimony. That is stupid.
Yeah.
You don't delve into sin because you feel like you don't have enough knowledge to, or not enough of a testimony to be able to preach properly to people. You don't do
That makes it
that.
no
That's
good.
stupid.
Yeah, that's dumb. This is either something you struggle with or something that you really had a desire in your heart to do. Other than
Yeah.
that, there should be no reason why you. Matter of fact, we don't even do that. Think about that for a second. We don't do that. People don't. People either have the real desire to do it, or you struggle with it. If you did it over a dumb reason, that's just dumb.
Yeah. And this is where, like, again, into the wisdom of Solomon. Think about that for a minute. What this proves and what stands out to me about it, wisdom does not equate to action. It doesn't matter how much wisdom you have. You know what the difference between knowledge, understanding, and wisdom is? I'm gonna break it down. I've broken it down before many times. Oh, well, not many. It's been a few times. But knowledge is knowing information. Just knowing, that's knowledge, knowing the information. Understanding is knowing how the information impacts the present time. Wisdom is knowing how the information will impact the future. That's all it is. Knowledge is the knowing of information. Understanding is knowing how that information can impact the present time. Wisdom is knowing how that information can impact the future. None of those three equal righteous individual. None of them. Because having wisdom does not equate to having the desire to use it when it comes to sin and righteousness. It just doesn't. I'm going to give an example of something in my own life. I don't know how many times I have told you two things. When I have a focused mind and aggressive spirit to say, no, I'm not watching adult films today. When it's an aggressive spirit against it, I don't slip up. If I go to work out and I get myself so burnt out that I can sleep, I don't have to use it. And if I'm driving and I take the time to stop where I can stop and get workouts in, or I make sure I'm rested enough before awake enough to be able to drive, I don't have to use it to get energy to drive. That's how bad it's gotten at times, Charles. There are times where I'm so tired and I need to make it somewhere, but I know the adrenaline boost of getting off once will wake me up for a while. The same thing that can be used for sleeping can also be used for waking up if I'm currently tired, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, it is crazy.
And so, but wisdom would say, so what? The company gave you a stupid load. That's on them. Get that quick nap that you need. Or better yet, when I stop for my 30-minute break, don't get food, go do a workout to get your blood pumping. That's what I should have done. That's not what I did. So the thing is with Solomon, it's the same thing with me. Wisdom does not equate to righteous behavior. Wisdom only equates to the capability of righteous behavior. You're not capable of maneuvering 100% in righteousness if you don't have wisdom. If all you have is knowledge and understanding, you're going to slip up. You can't stop it because I'll give you an example, Charles. Understanding, like I said, the difference in understanding is knowing how that knowledge will impact the present. Understanding is what led you to almost leaving the church. Wisdom would have had you stay. It would have had you understanding you need to stay. Does that make sense, Charles?
Here we go again. Say it again. Say it again.
Understanding is why you left, were about to leave the church. Wisdom would have had you, if wisdom would have had you understand you never should have left or even thought of leaving.
Yeah, because
Understanding,
wisdom. I was gonna say because with the wisdom, then I should have known that this is a dumb reason to leave. This this was.
no, no, no. Understanding this is a dumb reason to leave, that is not wisdom. Understanding that you're giving up your salvation, that's where it's wisdom. Future impact. Understanding is I need to be able to get work and I can't be at work because I got Bible study time and I have to be on that. But I can't be halfway in, halfway out because that's pointless too. That's understanding. That is understanding, but that's not wisdom because all that's thinking about is how it's impacting the immediate moment. Wisdom would have been, yes, I need to have time to work, but what matters most is my salvation. Work is temporary. Even if I were to starve to death and die, it would still be better to starve to death and die and be right with God than it would be to starve in death and die. And then, matter of fact, let me put it on the factual statement of wisdom. It would be better to starve to death and die in the streets and be right with God than it would to be a billionaire with and all the money as residual income, nothing you have to work towards, and you have all that you want in this world and not have God. That's the difference. So you understood your struggle at the moment. You understood that things aren't working, but there was no wisdom towards the future impact. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
So that's why understanding led you to almost leaving the church, but wisdom would have had you never question it and you would have stayed. All right. Now, is there anything you want to add to mine?
No, I already added tidbits here and there while we were talking, so that's everything I needed to say.
Yeah, that's true. And we went over 2 hours again. Okay, let me say this before I close it out. Starting tomorrow, it's the first of the year. I really need to get this down to an hour. So, how could I do this? Ha! I figured it out. Okay? You ready for this, Charles?
Mhm.
From the moment after the prayer, I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. Each person has 15 minutes well, no, for 10 minutes. 10 minutes to do the reading of the 5 verses or however much and to get the accurate explanation. If not done in 10 minutes, then I'll use the next 5 minutes to teach the context and how to get it and give the answers. What do you think about that?
I'd have to try it to see. We'd have to try it and just go from there.
All right. So I'm going to set the timer. Um, and remind me in case I forget, like tomorrow and stuff, because I'm gonna try to set the timer for 10 minutes or 12 minutes. 12 minutes is enough for 12 minutes. And then that way, 3 different sections, it's still less than 45 minutes. Actually, that's only 36 minutes at 3 sections. And that leaves enough time for the listening portion. And the whole explanation can be given in the last 3 minutes.
All right.
Because you see the difference when I do the explanation versus with y'all. I mean, how long did my explanation take? It took like a minute.
It's it's quick. Unless combine it
unless
with,
we
like,
got
let's say unless you bring up like an example in your explanation, and that
yeah, all
example
the
drills
added
into something that
details. Yep,
happened, and
yep,
yeah.
exactly. So we'll go about it that way, and the goal is to get the same result of growth and understanding without the wasting time.
All right.
That's the goal. If it ever, and I want you to keep this in mind because it does matter more the context that we're understanding it. So when we start doing this tomorrow, if it ever feels like you're not getting the full understanding of how to understand what we read, yeah, I mean, if it ever just feels like I'm just telling you the answers and not that you're understanding how we got there, then I want you to speak up about it and let me know.
I'll let you know.
So that way, because that does matter more. Though I do want to get the time frame down, but like today was really because of a tangent thing. But if we have that timer for the 12 minutes, then the tangent wouldn't have happened. But could we have gotten the same